what do you think after your time spent publishing stories about the people that live here from all walks of life? What do you think really makes Greeley and our community tick? What is it?
Oh, I love that question. That is something I figured out probably my first year of the magazine. And it was other people that helped me, that came to me and asked me that. And all of a sudden it was like a light bulb.
Welcome to the Pathfinder podcast, my friends. Here's where we inspire you to go full-time with your passion, or if you're already in your business, to break through to the next level. And today I am so excited to welcome my guest here, Tara Rasmuson, the publisher of Greeley Lifestyle Magazine. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me, Lori. I'm very excited to be here and very excited for your new show.
Oh, thank you. I'm so excited. Tara, you are the publisher of the Greeley Lifestyle Magazine. And you also, before that, had a career in oil and gas industry. And I love your degree because I think it's basically what you're doing now. You have a Bachelor of Applied Social Science degree from Colorado State University. I looked up what applied social science is, and I'm going to read the definition. It's all about, and it's quite, it's really intriguing. It's about applied social sciences are those academic social science disciplines, professions, and occupations which seek to use basic social science knowledge to make an impact on the daily life of communities, organizations, and persons. And it sounds exactly like what you're doing now. And so I wanted to ask you as our first question, tell me about the journey from that degree to the oil and gas industry to now as the publisher of the Greeley Lifestyle Magazine, about my favorite subject, living and playing in Greeley.
Great question. So if we go back in time when I was going to school, I had no idea what I really wanted to study. I went to my counselor and I said, help, I don't know what I want to do. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I'm trying to finish my degree. I have 4 tiny babies and no idea what to do. And he said, well, what do you do for fun? And I said, well, I read social science books for fun. It's kind of nerdy, but that's what I love. And he said, great, study that. So I did. And I remember getting too close to graduation and realizing that I had to get a job because I had all this student debt and had to be an adult. And so I called my dad and I said, Dad, what am I going to do? I have this really generic degree and I don't know what kind of job to look for. I'm going to have to get a master's degree. Right. And he said, well, have you ever thought about doing oil and gas? There's a lot of ladies that do a lot of land work and you don't have to have a very specific degree for that. And my dad's a geologist in the oil and gas industry, and he'd never encouraged me to do oil and gas before. I think because it's been a very male-dominated industry, and he's seen a lot of women that weren't treated great, but it's really shifted in the last 20 years. And so he finally said, why don't you look into that? And so I said, okay. And so I graduated with my degree and went right into oil and gas, and I had a great career, still dabble in it a little bit. But I kind of got a little bit burned out in the oil and gas industry. And so I was looking for something new to do. And I had just moved to Greeley and I was very open. I just kind of said, you know what, I'm going to be very open and something's going to come along and I'm just going to know it's the right thing. And I saw a advertisement on LinkedIn jobs page for the Greeley market to start a magazine through a franchise. And all of a sudden, I just had this vision of what a perfect opportunity to, number one, tell the great stories of Greeley, because there's a lot of misconceptions about the Greeley community, and I would have the perfect platform to be able to share all the wonderful things. And then number two, it was actually right in the middle of the pandemic, and people were feeling so disconnected and so isolated. And I thought, well, what a great way to help people feel connected again, to kind of foster that connection and reintroduce people to the things in their own backyard. And so it just made all the sense to me, and I felt great about it. And all of a sudden, I felt like it was my dream job, and I went for it. I bought the Greeley Market and started the magazine. And it's absolutely become a tool of connection for people, for our 50,000 readers to find out what's going on around town and who are the people and who are the businesses and how can I be a part of it.
Right. I just love the magazine because it's just such genuine stories about people And it's a way for people to learn about others in our community that we had no idea they've been doing this fantastic thing for decades, right?
Yeah.
And here they are. You shine a light on them. And I love all the different themes you do in each issue. Was that part of, like, did you get to be creative with that? Do you get to decide those themes, or?
Yeah, well, so that's actually, the themes come from corporate, and that's one of the huge benefits of having a franchise, is I have this beautiful support system that kind of lays out themes and structure and all of the concepts, and then I get to have complete freedom in my community about how to tell the stories within those themes and make those themes come alive based on the community of Greeley and our culture here, which has been so fun for me because I feel like Greeley is a very special place and has very special little things about it. And so I've taken some of those themes and kind of gone the extra mile with them. So for example, one of our themes is the thankful issue, but I love to tell that kind of the story that Greeley is thankful for multi-generational families in business. And so that's kind of become our yearly tradition with the magazine, is to tell those stories because there's so many multi-generational families here in Greeley. And to be able to get to share that, it really demonstrates why Greeley is so generous, why Greeley takes care of each other, because it's in our blood, it's in our families. We were raised doing that. It's just a beautiful thing to be able to share in the magazine.
You know, that's a great point. I've never thought of it that way before. I mean, I know about how kind our community is, and there's so many people volunteer and donate, and we really do think of our neighbors in need as neighbors, right? Mm-hmm. And I never thought of it that way, that it's the multi-generations of families that have grown up here, lived here, that have passed on to the next generation. Hey, it's super important to do community work and volunteer and help our neighbors. So you're right. And I love that issue as well. I think every issue I keep telling you, boy, you outdid that last issue. And I just say that every single time.
Oh, thank you.
And you touched on something I really wanted our audience to think about too, because there are two paths to a business. There's like the franchise path and then the start your business from scratch path. And I also have been exposed to both in my other life. Before I discovered the internet in 1995 and websites and SEO and social media and turned it into a marketing agency, in my other life, in the 80s and 90s, early 90s, I was a general manager for McDonald's. It was never what I intended to do, but the universe and God has a way of, saying, this is what you should do because it's going to get you ready for that next path in your life. And it was fantastic because I loved my customers, I loved my crew, and I think they loved and respected me too, I think. And it was just a great way to learn how to run a multi-million-dollar company. I mean, talk about leadership training, the best, and then how to coach your people. They were doing these things way before other people were doing them in their companies. Now it's the norm. If you work in you have a good company culture, you're going to do those basic things now. And then when I started my business from scratch, I had that exposure and that leadership training and knowing that standard operating procedures are important. And so I love that you can speak to that as well. Like, how would you advise business owners to think about like the franchise path as well, or start from scratch? What are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, so I love to talk about this because I currently own a company, a small non-operating oil and gas company with my dad that is not a franchise, and also the magazine franchise. And I'm looking to add, a new business to my schedule. And I'm definitely looking at franchises. It's neat because you can dabble in other industries that interest you and excite you and that you're passionate about without having to be an expert in that. I knew nothing about publishing. I knew nothing about magazines, but I knew a lot about people, and I had studied how groups of people interact with businesses and how to really connect to customers. And so, with the franchise model, they just provide so much for you, so much training. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. Here's the blueprint. Right. This is how you be successful. It's just, it enables you to focus on what you're really good at. And with oil and gas, it's still a struggle. Our company, we're having to really figure out a new structure based on some new projects we have, and it's hard. Mm-hmm. It's really hard. There's no blueprint of how to be successful in this except for our own experiences. And so I'm like, where's that oil and gas franchise? I need that. But yeah, I love franchises, and hopefully we'll be able to add another one soon. I just think it's great. I've seen so many other people jump into franchises and just be wildly successful because they're able to use their own God-given talents and what they're good at and really focus on those, and then let the franchise support the other areas that they might be weak in.
Right, yeah. Have you thought about, like, maybe you do have this already, but a mission statement for your new business you're starting? I discovered this like halfway through. I've been owning my own business for 28 years now. I didn't come ready-made with all the answers right away. So one of the things I learned along the way was having a mission statement, so that when you think of a new idea or product or service to add, no matter how exciting it might seem, does it fit my original mission statement, right?
Yes.
It can be like a guiding light to your decision making. And I learned that from this great book I read about Blue's Clues, the children's show, which is quite innovative. When my son was really little, we used to watch that show. But there's this book about how they decide to roll out a product or not. So they always look at their mission statement first, and if it doesn't fit, then they don't roll it out. And it makes sense now, right? But I never knew that before. So
I love that, because that's the world I'm living in with shopping for franchises right now. Is, my husband and I had 6 meetings with the franchise, which is a lot. That's like 6 weeks of time pouring into learning about this franchise, trying to envision it, bringing it to life in Greeley. And then at the end of the 6 weeks, it was like, this is not me. This is not my mission. And my value, my number one core value, is connection. Yes. That is so important to me. And it is so important for me to gift connection to other people through the magazine. And so this other franchise we were looking at was just a little bit off of that path. And if now that you've kind of brought it full circle, that makes all the sense. If we can figure that out early in the process, it's like, what fits with my mission and my values and who I am. Then as we step into that new business, we're going to be so excited to wake up every day, and it's never going to feel like work. And when you have a business like that, you're successful. You just are, because you love it. People feel your passion. They feel your excitement. You live and breathe it because you love it, and you're going to be successful then. So Thank you for bringing that full circle for me.
Oh, my pleasure. Yeah. Yeah. I like to think of Greeley and our whole community as like, let's look at it as a body, and it's got a brain, it's got a heart, a pulse. You, I think, know more than a lot of people I know. What do you think, after your time spent publishing stories about the people that live here from all walks of life, what do you think really makes Greeley and our community tick? What is it?
Oh, I love that question. That is something I figured out probably my first year of the magazine. And it was other people that helped me, that came to me and asked me that. And all of a sudden it was like a light bulb. It's like, well, everybody knows what makes Greeley tick. It's events. Greeley loves events because they love things that bring them together. They love to come together and raise money for their community. And these are the most generous people I've ever seen. I lived in 7 states, multiple communities, and I've never seen a more generous community than Greeley. And so they love to come together to celebrate their nonprofits, to celebrate good people, to celebrate business and families and community. And so that's why I think a lot of people will say, well, there's not a whole lot to do here.
What?
There may not be like a stationary, we actually, now there's a lot to do here, just in the last couple of years, really. This library where we're at today is a great example. But historically, events have always brought people together. And so it's always kind of like a moving target, because events are, throughout the year. But I really think that is just a big part of our community. And then also, I would say, the multi-generational families that have built our community and have passed on values to their children and grandchildren about giving back and supporting each other and being a supportive, loving community.
I love that. Yes, yes. Greeley is a really special place, and I wish that more people, I do and I don't wish that more people knew about it. And I think maybe a lot of people feel that way, but it's, we want to keep it a secret, but we don't want to keep it a secret.
I've had people tell me to stop telling people how great it is because they don't want anyone else to come here, but the world needs good places for people to
Right.
go.
It sure does.
Yeah.
And yeah, our part of the neck of the woods is really, really great. You really are like a community builder. Do you think of yourself that way, or how do you, like, if you had to label yourself with one title, what would it be?
Oh, goodness. Well, I didn't think of myself at first like that, but now, we're coming up on 3 years of a monthly publication. So we have a stack, and I feel like it's kind of a yearbook of Greeley.
Yeah.
It's a yearbook, and so I think it's really neat to now kind of turn around and look at what my team has done for 3 years and this legacy that we've built and just kind of like a Greeley story. And so I think, even still, I want to tell people, if you want to learn more, like, we have a collection
Right.
of what our community is all about.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope, it's interesting, when I first came on the scene to start the magazine, there were a lot of new people, with the chamber and the DDA and other businesses that really had a vision for our community and were just working tirelessly to be community builders. And so it was fun to be able to step into that group of people who were already here making magic happen and feel like my purpose was so aligned with all of theirs. And so it created all these really easy partnerships. And so I think Greeley just has an incredible community of leaders that are community builders all together, which, the energy behind all of those people coming together is just fantastic.
Right,
And
right.
I hope that people see the transformations that are happening in our community every single day.
I
It's
know,
just
yeah.
amazing.
Yeah, you're capturing a lot of really intriguing, wonderful stories, and you're right. I've always thought of your magazine that way. Like, every month, it's like getting a monthly yearbook about the great goings on and people in Greeley. And but you do have this backlog. Congratulations! It's already been 3 years. I can't believe that.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, and I think they should be put into the Greeley Museum, and especially the issue you did on the Greeley Stampede. It was the 100th year, right? And tell me a little bit about that.
Oh my goodness, that's one of my absolute favorites. It was such an honor. The Greeley Stampede reached out to me and asked if I wanted to do their official program for the 100th year celebration, and I was really blown away by that. And I think it's just because I had really nice paper.
You do.
and a solid team, 18 local writers, photographers,
Right.
team members, all working on the magazine, people that just really love Greeley. And so it was a good fit. And so we worked really hard for a couple of months to put that together. And it magically, I don't know how this happened, but the thing with the magazine is, as we build it, sometimes we don't know how many pages it's going to be. And I had no idea. I kind of guessed about 75 for the Stampede issue, because we build 50% sponsored ads, 50% content. And so, we asked the community and businesses to come and sponsor and also, get their businesses in front of our readers. And so we just had such amazing support from the community there that the magazine just grew and grew, and we were able to do more and more content. And all of a sudden, like a week before the deadline, we hit 100 pages completely on accident.
Wow.
And I was in tears. Like, I couldn't
Yeah.
believe it. It was amazing that it all came together like that.
That's
And
magical.
it really was. And my favorite moment working on that issue was, so the Stampede has archives of 100 years of photos.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would go into the office and sit and just spend hours going through these photos, trying to choose, the ones that I wanted to include, that we wanted to share, that really embodied the spirit of the Stampede over the years. And as I was sitting there one day, just kind of in one of their big open rooms, they were actually filming interviews of some of the men that they were honoring in the Hall of Fame, and they were telling the stories when they were little boys, going to the Stampede with their families, and all the years that they were involved and what it meant to them. And I'm like,
Wow.
going through all these, just the pictures were already emotional and inspiring enough, and then to hear those stories in the background, I'm just like crying at the computer.
Wow.
It was just an incredible experience. And so then I really wanted to make sure that I just really did it justice in the pages of those magazines and created something that people could keep forever, that really that they could remember all the years that the Stampede and what it meant to our community and what it meant to their families, and that continues onward. And now with us taking our families there still today, and our community, and all the people that come from all over to be a part of it. It's just a really special thing for Greeley.
It is, and you really did nail it with that issue as well. And I really strongly believe it should, at least that issue should go into the Greeley Museum.
Oh, yeah.
Not all the issues.
And I still have a lot of copies if anybody wants one, because it's kind of a really neat memento to have. And if people didn't get one at the event, we had thousands and thousands of copies there. But I still have some if anybody wants one.
Oh, good. Good to know.
Out to me. Yeah.
And shout out to Justin Watata and his team. He's the general manager and in charge of the Greeley Stampede every year. And I don't know how they make that such a successful event. Talk about bringing people together. It's just, it is amazing.
And they do it with a very small team. I mean, they're just incredible, and they were incredible to work with.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So once again, it comes down to community and community building. And if I had to label you with one thing, I think as the publisher of Greeley Lifestyle Magazine, you are a community builder, because more people learn about the stories of the special people here. And of course, there's special people in every community, but it's really cool that you get to shine a light on so many month after month after month. It's really, really great.
It's fun, and it's very rewarding to be able to help businesses grow. Because that's the other flip side of it, is connecting community, connecting our readers to businesses, and then helping all those small businesses, all those moms and pops, everything locally owned, have brand new customers, and people walk through the door that didn't know they were there and become a great customer. It's incredibly rewarding.
Right. What advice would you give to entrepreneurs, current business owners, and those who want to become business owners? What types of advice come to mind, especially as you think back to yourself in the early years of all your different business ventures? I know what I knew in the beginning of my business career compared to what I know now. It's incredible the amount of knowledge you accumulate and all the hard lessons you have to go through and learn. But what advice comes to mind to share with our viewers?
Yeah, kind of what we talked about already with the mission is making sure that your mission really aligns with your core values. What's really, truly important to you? Doing that soul searching and figuring out what is the most important thing to you. Because if you can wake up every day, because owning a business is hard, as you know, it can be very hard. And so you've got to be all in, and you've got to choose something that you are going to wake up every day, jump out of bed to do it. And if you do that, I think you'll be successful, and you'll be able to attract people to you that can support you because they can feel your energy and your love and your passion.
That's great advice. And also I would add, don't be afraid to ask for help too, because I didn't even know about the Small Business Development Center, the SBDC, and those have been set up all over the country, and we do have them in our region as well, and the services are free for business owners, current business owners, and those that are just starting up or thinking of going into business. They will guide you along that journey, and you don't have to be all alone, and they'll help you avoid some things that you might not have avoided and had a hard lesson to learn about. And so that's there, and I love that we share resources. Greeley Chamber of Commerce too, I love them. There's so many great groups in our area. Forgive me if I don't name all of them today, people watching. But I also like to say that again.
So many resources for help.
Definitely.
You don't have to be on your own.
Exactly. I also love to ask this question of people, and if you could go back in time to your 20-year-old self, what would you tell her now? And I could go first or you could go first. What would you tell her now, with all the knowledge you have now, and remembering your 20-year-old self, what would you tell her?
I love that. And we actually did a story called Letter to Your Younger Self, which is one of my favorites. And we may have to do it again because it was so great. But I think sometimes along the way we forget that we're very capable. Life, as we move into adulthood and different seasons of life, we kind of sometimes forget that we have everything inside of us to be successful. And so I would probably remind my 20-year-old self that I'm very capable and I can do it, and I have, resources around me, and I have the ability to do it, and to never lose sight of that or never let my confidence waver.
Right. And We've talked about that word, that phrase of being in different seasons of your life. Share with me a bit about that. How does that resonate with you?
Oh, yes, seasons of life. It's one of my favorite phrases. My mom raised me and taught me that we have different seasons in life. And I definitely have had different seasons of life. I stayed home with my kids for 10 years as a stay-at-home mom. Very different season than as a working mother. And so my mom always taught me, no matter what season you're in, whether you're home caring for babies or you're out in the workforce or you're caring for aging parents, we have these different seasons and we can't do everything in those seasons. We have to focus on what's important in the moment and in the time. And when I was home, raising teeny kids, my mom would say, well, if you can't get out and volunteer in the community and be a part of this and be a part of that, you don't have to feel guilty about it because your season is right here with these babies. And now I feel like my season, having teenagers, my season is to really show my children what it is to give back to the community, what it is to serve, what it is to have a business, what it is to be, financially and emotionally independent and confident. And so, so I always tell people, I don't believe in guilt, women guilt, mom guilt, parent guilt, whatever it is. We really just, as long as we're focused and confident in the season we're in and know that we'll have other times in our lives where we can do other things. And that's a good thing.
Right. It's such a good thing. Right. Yes. I'm going to spring a question on you.
Okay.
What would your 80-year-old self tell you now where you are right here now in your life? What do you think your 80-year-old self would tell you if she could get in a time machine, travel back, and tell you right now?
Oh, probably to exercise more.
More yoga.
More yoga.
Yeah.
Yes, more yoga. Yeah, that's a tough one. I have a 103-year-old great aunt.
Oh, wow.
She recently passed away, but she lived to 103. And so I think about her often. And what she would tell me that I needed to be doing is walking more.
Right.
She never got her driver's license, and she walked everywhere, and so she lived to 103.
Oh, wow.
But she was very active, so.
That's why she probably lived that long. Yeah. Right. I think it speaks to health, too. I think my 80-year-old self would tell myself, hey, get back to yoga. It keeps your spine young. And drink plenty of water. And remember to, everything's good. There's nothing.
Life is good.
We're so blessed.
We are.
Yeah.
Life is good. You can always find good things.
That's right. That's right. Well, thank you so much for being here today.
You're
this was so
welcome.
wonderful
Thanks
to
for
get to.
having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. I hope you'll come back again.
Absolutely.
Good. And where can we find Greeley Lifestyle Magazine?
Yes, you can go to citylifestyle.com/Greeley for our digital copy, and every copy we've ever had is out. You can go flip through the pages. And then also we have copies at Aunt Helen's Coffee Shop, the Blue Mug, Blush Boutique are kind of our main drops where we have large stacks where you can go and pick them up and take home a copy.
Great. And it's free. Yeah. Well, thank you so much, Tara.
You're welcome.
And thank you, everybody, for tuning in today to the Pathfinder podcast, where we hopefully have inspired you to go full-time with your passion, or if you're already a business owner, to break through to the next level. I'm Lori Gama, and I encourage you to please subscribe to my YouTube podcast channel and hit the like button of this. And please put in the comments below, what season of life are you in, or share any other thoughts that you'd like to share. We just want to know more about topics that you'd love us to cover and future guests. And thank you for watching today.